Good morning. It's time to get in touch. In Touch is a public affairs show dedicated to improving the lives of Susquehanna Valley residents. I'm Freddi Hammer, News Director at Backyard Broadcasting.
And happy to be here today with Tank Baird, who's the president of the 9/11 Memorial Coalition, and Alivia Tagliaferri, who's the filmmaker, producer, director of Remember, Honor, Ride that we're going to see on WVIA coming up on 9/11, which is such an honor, in my opinion, for you guys to be featured on such a great show. Good morning to you, Tank.
Good morning.
And hi, Alivia. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Tell me about the honor, Tank, of being featured in a film that Alivia put together. I see over several years you've been working on this whole subject.
The film was 3 years ago, right?
Four.
I mean,
we captured it 4 years ago.
Okay, okay. Yeah. But so it's been circulating for a while. We've had it on a couple of TV stations. Mm-hmm. It's been shown at Trade and Transit Center,
correct,
which changed hearts and minds in the city of Williamsport. I can tell you that.
That's lovely.
Right? Yeah, and got a lot more cooperation from the administration at that time. We've been working on this version of the PBS version for about a year now. I think
correct,
it's about a year.
correct.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Olivia, tell me more about how you got together and did it and put this together for this new injunction of what's going on.
Iteration of it, sure. Well, the start of it years ago, Gary Smith and Tank, they were in the process of creating this. They wanted to capture the story. This is such a unique ride, such a unique parade. And so I was wholeheartedly into it. But to answer your specific question, WVIA had some specific things. Being a government subsidized entity, they were like, okay, so we need to hit this checklist and this checklist. And so, going back with Tank and Gary and all the folks at the coalition, we had to make the decision, do we want to put more time into this and make this happen? And with consideration, it was a resounding yes. Because it's such an important story, and WVIA, has great coverage not only in our area but the entire Northeast, part of Pennsylvania.
Sure. We
wanted to get the story out there, so we went forward with it. It did take a good amount of time, but we're really pleased with it, and we're extremely happy that VIA is going to be not only featuring it on 9/11, but that whole weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be airing this Remember, Honor, Ride, a 9/11 Memorial Ride documentary featuring folks right here from Lycoming County, September 11th at 7, September 12th at 9 p.m., September 13th at 11:30 a.m., as well as September 14th at 7:30 p.m. So all kinds of primetime chances to see it.
Yes.
And, I kind of bill it as Father Mano and a cast of thousands.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because, I saw him in promo, and it was just good to see him.
Yeah.
It's just good to see him.
When we were cutting everything, I got the chills, and actually there was a few times that I got, teary-eyed and very poignant watching Father Mano. Yeah. And when people were coming up, so there's a part in the film where we capture Father Mano giving memory cards, memorial cards to all the people, all the riders that are at the 9/11, the ride. And he asked people to hold those cards with them on that ride, and there are people that have fallen in line of service. It's very, very, very poignant. And so as I was watching the footage of Father Mano, not only speaking but doing his action of giving to others, it brought tears to my eyes because he was such a unique, special, loving, wholehearted man, and we miss him terribly. But it was really neat to be put back into that space where he still existed and always will.
And we could really use his advice. This year would have been perfect, and he would have loved what's going on here.
Just with the publicity, or do you think it's just with being able to minister to people?
He was always about the message. About those cards. Every time we picked them up from Labels by Polizzi, he would actually, there'd be a candle, there'd be a little ceremony. Mm-hmm. It even hit the papers one time, we're just gathered around.
Yeah.
But he held those names as sacred. Mm-hmm. And I believe that that's one of the things that we're going to miss this year, not being able to do.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the overview of what you went through to try to get the Memorial Ride to happen this year, even though it is canceled ultimately.
I even saw it in the paper. I think somebody thought it was a conspiracy theory. But the plain fact of the matter is we waited until Pennsylvania opened up because nobody would sign anything, or you couldn't even meet anybody. And what was that, July? Mm-hmm. July maybe?
As early as you could. Actually,
in a normal year, I would have the permitting done by May.
Okay.
And then we would start on traffic control and all that, and it's a lot of work. But they threw a curve at us less than 60 days out. And that curve is what caused all the problem. There is an indemnity clause that is, as they say, it is in our contract when we put all these permission slips and local permits and stuff together and hand them to PennDOT. It is in there, but they used it. The individual municipalities had to sign off on this language, which is to hold blameless, defend the Commonwealth against litigation, and
wow.
and some municipalities signed off simply because we're the 9/11 ride.
And you had a good reputation.
A great reputation. Our safety record, having thousands of people on two wheels, and keeping them basically safe and that whole time for all
right.
these years. But some would not, and we needed all or nothing. And City of Williamsport wanted to be cooperative, but they just said no, we can't sign. And my hometown, Montoursville, did not sign, and it was all or nothing, and that pretty much ended our quest. Now we had Garth Everett involved in trying at the 11th hour to get us a waiver. And the last communication from Garth's office was, we're out of time, and we can't do this. And we didn't even get to the mitigation plan. We're trying to be responsible adults here about this situation. We're following. We saw what happened to Little League. We saw what happened, and let me tell you, we're small potatoes in comparison to
bringing the world to Williamsport.
Yeah, I mean, even the Mummers Parade.
Sure.
They it seems like they had a carbon copy issue with PennDOT, but the whole thing was the state is trying to limit these gatherings, and it sure did. I mean, but having said that. And we can talk about it now, we can talk about it later. I think they've just made the situation worse.
Well, Olivia, I'm wondering now, this documentary doesn't feature any of this conflict at this time. It's really just celebrating the beauty of what has happened in these local folks that have brought together the memories of the people they're thinking of.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the founding of the ride. It was, what started this? You know what I mean? A Tank and Don, a group of people. What was their motivation to say, we want to honor the lives lost, all the service members, all the fire, the police, the people that were the first responders. What do we do? And then, to me, I mean, I thought it was really cool that they did that year after year on the same day.
Not changing to always on a Saturday before or something.
No, they didn't, right. They didn't make it convenient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They said, no, this is going to be a commitment. And I just thought that really stood the test of time. That their commitment to honoring, and then riding as their form of protest, as well as just remembering, let's not forget. And so, the story was just absolutely there. It just needed to be captured. And so in 2016, oh my God, I don't even know how many crews. I think it was eight different film crews we had at different points along the ride. Phoebe Freer, who's a really wonderful, talented local producer here in town, she was our field producer. Connor Schultz, really talented editor. He was also one of the videographers as well, and he did a beautiful job editing everything together. But we had aerial footage from drones in several locations. It was just this whole. It was a massive production, that took place on 9/11. But then we also did all of the pre-interviews as well as the sit-downs for the documentary of those stories. And so it's almost like a quilt, of how it's all patterned together to tell that story of the ride, but who made it possible and what they're writing about.
It's a good story to begin with, and it just spawned so many other good stories. I mean, Father Mano and I's intention in this was to include as many organizations and the community as we could. He just wanted everybody on board, and it's his enthusiasm for it, and his name early on when I would call police departments and things, it was getting traffic control, which is essential for this ride.
Absolutely.
Was on the backs of the police and the fire departments and now the county sheriff's department and all that. And I just sometimes had a little bit of difficulty getting their attention. And normally when I said, this is the ride that Father Mano's on, And normally that
change the tone, maybe.
Yes.
I'm curious, Alivia, about your passion for this. Beyond being a normal American feeling outraged by the 9/11 attacks, did you have extra passion toward this project?
So I'm an author and a documentary filmmaker. I've written a novel called Beyond the Wall, The Journey Home, about a Marine Corps veteran who helps heal a wounded Iraq War veteran. So it was a generational story of a Vietnam veteran who had experienced post-traumatic stress, who goes to try to help this younger generation not experience the hardships that he did throughout his life. So I've always been very passionate about telling the stories of veterans and first responders. In 2012, I did a documentary called Profiles in Service, It Takes a Nation. And that was about the effects of war on not just the military service members, but their families, and carrying the burden of war, because these are people that are going on deployment after deployment after deployment, and that's completely unique in our history, especially recent history as Americans and service members serving, our country. So I've always been very in this vein of telling the stories of service, of telling the stories of patriots, and it's interesting because that means different, that term means different, and I say as much as possible out of the politics of things, because everybody has a different set of politics, everybody has a different set of definitions and meanings, and some words will hit other people, some things certain ways, but I believe that we come together as a country when we can tell our stories, when we can be unified by hearing another person's story. And you have that empathy, you have that compassion, you have that connection. And so I love being a storyteller.
It's interesting as you feature active Marines or people that may have just retired or gone from deployment between them. Talking to folks in the memorial ride, it's the same kind of person, maybe a veteran, or just the same kind of passion. I mean, Tank, you can attest to that. For your entire coalition is a group of men like that and women.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted. The place where I started as a club has been, just wine. Our club started the ride, blah, 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 and just sort of give it up. But I think they have collective amnesia in that regard, because they forget when Father Mano and I had the same lawyer, wrote them a letter and said, thanks for your service, but we're going to take it from here. There was protests. They sent their Manson women, to these meetings. I call them Manson women. But there was disruption. But they joined the coalition, and now they tend to dispute the same story that I've been telling about the origins of this ride when I was there and all these years. This story has gone out to countless newspapers and magazines, and it's part of this story. And now the narrative's changed. Now it's mean old Tank stealing the ride. I feel privileged because I'm just one man, and I was supposed to have taken this from all those big bad bikers up there. So I would say that if they want to be part of this, fine, but stop whining about it. Yeah.
Are you finding any pushback from airing this documentary as far as coming up on 9/11?
No.
That's good.
The story's in place. WVIA did all the research. And where they didn't have blanks, I filled them in with documentation. So, it's and to be honest with you, it's a thrill for me to this is my fourth PBS project. And this started with the director from Peoples, the Susquehanna River, that I was involved in. It's a story about Native Americans in historic and prehistoric. And that same director, I had slipped him a copy of Remember, Honor, and Ride, and that's been a couple of years.
Yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah. And he said it's perfect for PBS, but they have standards. Now, this has been shown on TV. It's been shown at the Trade and Transit Center. It's been shown around.
Reston, Virginia, Washington, D.C. area picked it up several years ago. Hazleton Station picked it up several years ago.
You've said there's a little bit of an update here.
It's been updated, to meet the specifics that WVIA had requested.
Okay.
They're tough. You just don't shoot something at home and, homemade.
Stringent guidelines.
Well, yeah.
When we were doing the reflection part in terms of like the actual happenings of 9/11, in terms of getting all the rights and everything. Well, the other thing of it is too is like, you try to get rights for footage from the major news sources about 9/11, and they cost thousands and thousands of
Wow.
dollars.
I had no idea.
And, well, the reason why I believe, and this is my belief, is that there's so many conspiracy-based movies about 9/11 that are not sanctioned. They didn't use it, but to get actual real footage that has been approved, it costs thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to do that. And so we had to make decisions about, okay, so what are, and up till that point, what we did use was considered fair use.
Okay.
Best practices in documentary filmmaking. But PBS does not do fair play because they're, with...
Nonprofit.
Right. And, well, they get government subsidies.
I see.
So there was very stringent, language in terms of the rights used from, the CNN and the Fox footage that we did incorporate at the beginning, even though it was 30 seconds, it was like, okay, so we had to go through that process. And that was a process, but we did it.
It really was.
But we did it. And so everything that, they had requested of us, we met, and we're happy with it.
We are very happy. When this was originally proposed, the first thing I thought about was PBS.
Yes.
It is perfect for this. I mean, it's absolutely.
Initially over 22 counties.
Okay.
And that story is going to be told, and we have we're in contract for 2 years, so it's not just this year, but it's the 20th
anniversary, which is next year.
Which
Getting
I
ready
think
for that.
media is going to be they're all going to be scrambling for 9/11
Content.
content. We're just very pleased not only that we got accepted with all the work that we did, and but I'm in light of what's happening with the ride. And sometimes I'm just, I'm cross-eyed about it. It's like, oh my!
You've been living this for months and months.
Yeah. It's just like, come on, guys. We have 5 or 6 groups that are like, I don't know whether they're jockeying for position in this. One group's going to ride one way, and then we got some other factors that have never been in this ride before. We have the Jeep Club, and everybody wants to. I don't blame these people for wanting to do this.
They want to honor someone. Put it in the right place.
And that's and that was what I have taken the lesson. Sorry, we're talking. Well, no, I'm not sorry. We're talking so much about Father Mano, but he really instilled this in us. To be careful about what we do on that day. And if these people ride or drive respectfully and on the day, but I'm getting some information that there's a lot of people off story here, off content.
That may take the ride or do things in their own fashion.
Yeah, and, I can't ride. So I'm kind of, not mad, but it's like, that won't happen this year. As it's been told to me, and I believe it, motorcyclists they want to shake hands. They want to meet. They want to greet. There'd be a lot of hugging. There'd be a lot of contact, even if we could get that in place. But that was our initial plan. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad that was taken out of our hands. You
don't have to tell anybody, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, if we can't get the permitting, we can't ride. But we can't ride without traffic control.
Right.
And that's the critical difference here. Now, there's a lot of motorcycle events that don't have every intersection blocked and things of that nature. And we were, because we've had this happen so often that we hold the ride, have the intersections blocked, we were, like I've said before, the whole coalition is scared to death that somebody would come up and think that it's the normal 9/11 ride, that you can ride through all of the intersections and stuff. But if we can't give them maximum safety, the ride's not going to happen.
You got to keep everybody in one column.
And then you throw in the COVID thing. I understand why the Mummers Parade canceled. I understand why all these events are canceled, because you're just trying to do your part. You're just trying to be responsible.
And understanding it doesn't mean you like it.
No.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't have to agree.
No, keeping safety as the top priority.
And there is no solid ground to stand on here.
You're right.
It's one guy's yelling about masks, and the other guy is yelling, "Put a mask on." Or it's like people just bumping into each other in the dark. Mm-hmm. Nobody has the whole story here. Mm-hmm. So I think really to err on the side of caution is what we do.
So we're going to watch Remember, Honor, Ride, and it's coming up September 11th at 7 p.m. for its first airing.
Yes.
Are you going to have a party or any kind of gathering of your own for your families?
If it wasn't the era of COVID, probably yes.
Okay.
But in light of this, no, we'll probably just have a private watch party, with everybody tuning in at the same time.
Obviously. If it was not COVID, we wouldn't even be done with everything that we have to do at the ride by 7 o'clock.
Oh,
but I requested that it be put in sometime prime time that same evening. And to boot, right after that, they're going to have, I've participated in a short takes program with interviews from movers and shakers across PA, and they tell me they're going to air that right after the Remember Honor Ride. So I'll have my interview in there first. I'm up first.
Wonderful.
And it's all in the learning process. It's all just good stuff.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing such a beautiful documentary about this wonderful event and honoring those that we've lost in 9/11 for sure.
I just want to add, in the film, Gary Smith, who's a Vietnam veteran and I think, vice president of the coalition?
Yes, he is vice president. He has been for a long time.
Refers to the ride as a rolling memorial. And I love that.
Yeah, that is lovely.
That's what it is.
A rolling memorial that you can see on WVIA, Remember Honor Ride, a 9/11 Memorial Ride documentary featuring those from Lycoming County, Father Mano, Tank Baird, Reverend Gary Smith, and Todd Winder, those folks that I've met from the coalition, and the rest of you.
Yeah, Chief does a great job.
I'm so proud to be from Lycoming County for this to be happening. So thank you for everything that you guys have done. And we're just looking forward to seeing that again. Of course, finding the website 9/11memorialcoalition.org has the whole schedule, as well as links and things to what you might need.
Yes, it does. There's merchandise on there, too. That's basically, we don't have a lot of sponsors. We have some donations, but we are selling Remember Honor T-shirts. You can buy those on that website.
Best of luck to you for the 20th anniversary coming up next year. You can start.
We'll be back
on 9/12, ready to go.
Thanks, Freddi.
Thanks to both of you for being here today on InTouch.
InTouch is locally produced in our studios at 1685 4 Mile Drive in Williamsport. To get in touch with us regarding questions, comments, or topic ideas, call weekdays between 8 and 5, 570-323-8200. You can also write to us at 1685 4 Mile Drive, Williamsport, PA 17701. Attention Freddi Hammer. Or email me at fhammer@backyardbroadcasting.com. For archived programs of our InTouch series, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Backyard Broadcasting. Each current weekly program is featured on the Backyard Broadcasting websites. Thanks for listening to InTouch, a production of Backyard Broadcasting.